Well, welcome to the next edition, I guess you could say, or the latest edition of Spilling the Tea in Studio D. Got another great guest today. We have, I always mess this up. It's TaLisha, no. TaLisha.
Yeah.
Where do I get, see?
It's the L.
Well, it is the L.
Yeah. It's
Dr.
common.
And I've only
Givan.
said it.
That's what I said.
How many
Dr.
times have
Givan.
I said it when we're sitting here?
Yeah, but how
TaLisha
many
Givan.
times do I tune you out?
Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
That's
So,
true. That's true.
Dr. Givan, and you're over, let's see, curriculum
Curriculum and instruction.
and instruction, which you've been in that spot now for 2 years?
3.
3 years.
Sorry, this
Man,
is my third
time
year.
flies.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So any coincidence that you've been there since COVID? Then that's pretty much true, right?
Listen, I came in right in time.
That's right. That's
it.
right.
That's it.
Well, we're glad that you're here.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
From Henderson
Happy to
State
be here.
University,
Yeah.
just down the road here. So, you know, I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
But I really don't know you from the standpoint of your story. So let's start right there. Just kind of tell me, or tell us, if you would, your story. First of all, you know, just kind of where you're from, your background as far as education. And I always like to get this out of the folks that are in education that join us on the show, why you chose education as your career path.
Excellent. So, born and raised in Conway.
Okay.
So I'm a Conway Wampus cat, graduated from Conway High in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for a college that was close enough to home that if I needed to get home quickly, I could.
Right.
But it was far enough away that my mom and dad could not pop in.
Right.
Hence Henderson State. So I went to Henderson State. I got my bachelor's in bachelor's of science in education, elementary education. In 98, 99, I started my master's at Henderson, and then I transferred to UALR while I was teaching third grade. I taught third grade for a year in Pulaski County.
Okay.
And then I was able to go back home to Conway and teach.
wow.
So I taught in Conway for 12 years. I taught third grade, fifth grade. I did fifth grade gifted and talented literacy, gifted and talented math. And then I got a call one day that said, hey, there's a director of teacher ed position open at Henderson State. You know, maybe you should apply. And I was saying,
Yeah.
kind of thing, right? Because I love what
Right.
I was doing.
Yeah.
I was driving a school bus at the same time.
We've been there,
All
done
about
that.
the buses, right?
Right.
And I love driving the school bus. It was fun. It supported my shoe habit. It was
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
I finished my master's and my doctorate at UALR. I finished my doctorate in 2011.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry,
Gotcha.
2010. And so I came to Henderson in 2011 as director of teacher education, which is where I first met you.
Right.
And we got a chance to spend a lot of time together.
Yep.
And then in 2019, I transitioned over to the chair of curriculum and instruction, which was great because I had the background knowledge of teacher ed, right? I
Right.
had the background knowledge of all 13 teacher ed programs
Right.
and what it meant to be in the teacher ed program and how to leave and how to finish and how to graduate. And I love that job because I got to talk to the interns about what not to do.
Right.
You know, how not to slap a kid in class.
Yeah.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, you know, teacher ed fell at that time under curriculum and instruction, so I got a chance to step into that. But you asked the question, why I want to be
Exactly.
a teacher. So
Right.
here's the story that I tell people, like prospective students. I knew I was going to be a teacher a long time ago because when I used to cut open my dolls to see what was on the inside like a surgeon,
Right.
I couldn't get them to go back together. So that didn't
Right.
work for me.
Right.
But when I told them what to do,
Yeah.
they did it,
Th-
right? So
There
if I
you
said,
go.
say your ABCs, they did it.
Yeah.
And if I said, sit right there, they did it.
Right.
So I always had this bossiness factor. So I
Sure.
just kind of knew
Right.
that teaching
Right.
was for me.
Right.
But on the real side, on the other side of that, I've always wanted to help. I loved school. I loved my teachers.
Right.
The teachers I didn't like, now I know why.
Yeah.
And so I knew then, you know, that
Exactly.
education was just for me. It was what was natural. It was what was ingrained within me. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
There you
have
are.
that bossy factor too, but I saw something the other day. I told Darren, I said, look at this. It says, I'm not bossy. I'm just aggressively helpful.
aggressively,
I was like, I like
I'ma steal
that.
it. I'ma
yeah,
steal
I
it.
know. I saw it. I
write
said,
that down. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know how true that is in most days.
Yeah.
That's pretty on point.
Pretty on
I'm not even going to
It
deny
probably
it.
is for a lot of us, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
We're kind
I
of, yeah.
mean,
So,
you know.
any kind of teacher education in the family background there at all?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely not. So,
So, what about cousins, aunts, uncles?
I do have an uncle who was a superintendent It's Dr. Arthur Tucker. And he's been a superintendent in a couple different places down in Texarkana and in Pine Bluff and so on and so forth. So, but my church family, my home church family, tons of educators in my church family.
Right.
Lots of, I mean, you had to go on through. Education was pushed in our church family. And so I knew when I graduated, I really didn't have a choice but to keep going.
Right.
You know, what else can you do?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. My ultimate goal was to always be a principal, though. I never wanted to be in higher ed.
Right.
It was not my thing. I wanted to be a
Right.
principal.
Wow.
Right.
And then ultimately my goal was to be like the first Black female superintendent in Arkansas.
Right.
I'm not gonna make it. So, so I ended up, when I had that call to come to Henderson, I remember calling my uncle and saying,
Right.
I'm not sure if my impact is going to be great. And he said, I want you to think about the impact that you have with your students. He said, just imagine what would it be if you were impacting teachers who were teaching your students.
Right.
Right.
And then I said, okay, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
We can make it work.
It's so funny because educators, you need to feel that impact that you're going to make that difference.
Oh yeah.
And that was even hard when I went. I never thought I would be a principal ever. I mean, that's totally a God thing. 'Cause I was like super quiet. I know it's shocker that I was quiet in school, but I really was very quiet in school. And I just, I think God just puts you on a path where you're supposed to be.
I agree.
And that was hard at first to say, okay, am I really impacting? But you impact teachers who you have a bigger impact,
Right.
With kids. And like Darren's had the discussion even here, you can encourage and impact principals and teachers and think about how many kids are impacted. So,
Yeah.
One thing that happened that really solidified the impact thing for me, I had these interns and they go out and they get their jobs. I was supervising a master's of arts in teaching intern. And so I was at their school, Fountain Lake, as a matter of fact. And I was walking down the hall and I heard an 8th grader tell another 8th grader to go be great. And that's the phrase that I used to tell my interns all the time. Go be great. No matter what you're doing, just go be great, right?
Right.
And so I'm thinking, oh, that's neat that somebody would say that. And then I
Right.
found out that one of my former interns was teaching in that school, and he was telling his students
Right.
to go be great. So then it was like generations, right, of go be great. And
awesome.
at that moment, I was like, that's why I'm still
Yep.
here.
And
Yeah.
this is where I'm supposed to be.
This is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah, my first experience with something like that was at Lakeside when I was went there. My first administrative job as an assistant middle school principal, became principal at the middle school, and then was high school principal for 2 years. So I got those kids in middle school and got to actually graduate, if you will, with those kids, and it's really pretty neat to see those lessons or the things that you teach those kids in practice,
Right.
And because you always are going to think about that and wonder, am I getting through?
Yeah.
Right,
And you're not going to hit all of them, honestly, but there's a large number that you're probably going to hit. So
Right.
it's a pretty cool thing to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. Education really wasn't on the radar for me either. It's career too. As far as education for me, my dad was on the school board. He's a Fountain Lake graduate, but I've told this story a bunch. But when I asked him, about Fountain Lake going over there, and the only advice he had for me was, he said, "Well, you knew I graduated from there, right? Grew up out there." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, don't screw it up." I said, "Okay."
Thanks, Dad.
So yeah. But the thing about like you say, the church family, though. I mean, that's lots and lots of support there. No doubt about that.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I can tell you the thing that I was talking to Dr. Celia Taylor earlier today, and just the uniqueness and the support piece of the city of Arkadelphia.
Yeah.
I mean, really and truly, there's none like it, and especially the partnership that Henderson has, not only with the city of Arkadelphia, but with the schools within this region.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit.
So one of the first things that I had to learn how to do well was to foster those partnerships with the schools and our partners in education, our PI schools. And that was kind of difficult for me because as a classroom teacher, we go in, shut our door, do what we need to do to make sure our kids are okay. But I found that anytime that I would call and ask any of the partner schools for anything that was related to helping our students, helping them to grow, giving them the experiences that they needed, the partners were so quick to say, sure, whatever you need, Dr. Givan.
Right.
That's awesome.
But I really started to grow in that role and I knew I would when I would hear from superintendents that would call and say, now you do know that if you do X, Y, and Z, this would be better for us. Or you do know we saw your intern over here doing this. We've had that conversation. You do, and once those things started happening, it showed me that I had at least given them the opportunity to know that, to feel okay with sharing
Right.
with me. Like I didn't want them to ever feel like they were calling and I was going to dismiss them or,
Right.
Not be on their side. So the partnership just started to grow and grow, and it kind of, it blossomed, and it grew to some schools that we never even got a chance to send interns to just because of location.
Yeah.
But they still wanted to be a part,
That's
right?
awesome.
They still wanted to make sure that if we needed to send somebody down for an intern, or if we wanted to send a faculty member down to do some professional development, those were always the
Right.
best things to happen. So I really think that any school, any educator preparation program should really have a strong partnership with the local school districts, because you can't do it by yourself, right?
Yeah.
We cannot sit at Henderson State in our beautiful Cornerstone building and give our students everything that they
Right.
need. It's just not possible. So
Yeah.
gotta have those partnerships, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'm like you. One of the favorite things that I get to do in this job affords us that opportunity a little bit more is going out and having those conversations with the interns and keeping it real kind of thing. I think about, back when I first got into, radio, and I was all pumped up. I had that Bachelor of Science in Radio Television, and I was, going
I
to
knew
go
I
on
heard
the
that in
air.
your voice. I heard that.
And I was going to get on the
Darn
air.
right.
We had a guy that was he'd been out on the West Coast and all that stuff, and man, I was hanging on every word. And he said, "Well, you remember this class?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You remember this class?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, you can forget all that expletive. This is how it's really done." And so, I try to get that message across early on to these kids, because all the classwork in the world, I mean, it can prepare you for certain things.
Yeah.
But until, you're face to face with it.
Yeah.
But you got to keep it real. You got to be prepared for that. So that's what I've always appreciated about that. And the other part is, I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever seen her without a smile on her face.
Never. Never.
She's just like a big old package
Always
of positivity.
happy.
Oh,
That's
yes,
right.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
and that's important
Love what I
too,
do.
because
Yeah.
and matter of fact, you said love what you do. That's another message I try to tell these interns. This is not a profession that you can fake it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not
Yep.
possible.
It's not possible. But on the flip side of that, I tell them, if you're plugged in and this is what you're supposed to be doing,
Right.
you'll never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
No way,
Exactly
no
right.
how.
Right. So one of the stories I used to tell interns, speaking of you have to really plug in and all that good stuff. The very first day of internship orientation, where they're coming out, they're excited. They have their suits on because they know I'm all about you got to get your
Right.
stuff together. So they have their suits on, and I tell them this story about my first year of teaching in Conway, teaching third grade. It's the end of the year field trip. So we go out to Totesuck, Lock and Dam, out to the river. We tell the kids, you can't get in the water, just stay on the stuff. We get on the bus, we go out over the dam to the bridge, over the water, all that good stuff. And they're playing. And I had a little girl, she came up to me, these big fat ponytails. Her name was Sierra. She was the tattletale. And she said, Miss Givan, there's a dead body floating in the water. and all 4 third grade teachers were like, Sierra, go play. Because, she's the
Right.
tattletale.
Yeah.
And then 10, 15 minutes later, here comes the rescue boat. The rescue boat comes by, and it the truck pulling the boat, and it puts the water, and it goes out. And true enough, a local 9th grade English teacher from a neighboring town had driven her white Honda Accord to the top of the dam, opened her car door and committed suicide in front of my students.
Oh my gosh.
my
Wow.
And so I start that story with the interns, and I say things like, listen, Henderson can prepare you for every lesson plan, the
Right.
templates. We can prepare you with professional development,
Right.
but
Right.
only internship
Wow.
is going to prepare you for the dead bodies in the water.
Exactly.
And they look at me like, oh my gosh, she is crazy. You're right, I am.
Yeah.
But only
right.
internship, right,
right.
and
That's
experiences
right.
can prepare you
Yeah.
for
Yep.
Yeah.
what's to come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Quite a story.
Can't make that stuff up.
I don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even try to make that one
no.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one of those things I
Man.
think it's so important to be able to share that, to let them know, hey, anything is 100% possible.
Anything is 100% possible.
And like I try to tell them too, when you jump into this profession, your hope is, hey, man, I hope I reach one kid.
Just
But
one, yeah.
but I think you can even, you can talk to anybody and they'll tell you that it's happened probably 100-fold.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not happen until way on down the road.
Right.
But once you bump into somebody, and my biggest fear is it's that I, open heart surgery and it's some kid I expelled and they're like, hey, you remember me? But hopefully it won't be that time. But I've encountered those kids, and I'm sure you have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And there's no better feeling in the world
It
just
is.
to say, hey, and Candace and I, we reminisce about this a lot. We're both, Ready alumni,
Yeah.
student taught
Yes.
together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we love, being in the positions we're in here, is just the relationships. I mean, we
Right.
get folks through here that we've taught with, those kinds of things, and I'm sure you probably get that a lot too.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun when you see, the relationships that you've built with former students and former interns, and now they're out doing their own thing.
Right.
I have one that has a doctorate degree who's like the principal of a school in Texas somewhere. It's just
Yeah, that's
you
awesome.
get to see the good. I have some that are still teaching still teaching second grade, and they are happy and they are
Yep.
loving it.
Yep.
I did a calculation one day. I think I have seen right at 700 interns
Wow.
over my years.
That's awesome.
Over at Henderson. So it's you're just bound to run up on somebody
Yeah.
that you just loved and that
Yeah.
loved you. And I mean, there are a few that I was like, mm-mm.
Right.
No, I don't. Okay.
It's crazy though.
So
after
glad
you
after
did.
so many years,
Yeah.
it's like then your old students, like you're hiring them
Yeah.
to teach.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Then they're like their kids. I was like, okay, it's time. It's getting close to
I've-
retirement.
Yeah, I have one. I have an adjunct who's teaching for me now, who is one of my former interns,
wow.
and she is dynamic.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
so part of me is like a proud mama moment,
Yeah.
like hair
Yeah.
toss, thank you very much,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But
Yeah.
it's so much fun, so
Right.
much fun.
Yeah.
Right. So when you transitioned into this job 3 years ago, what was the biggest difference in what you were doing to what you're doing now, you think?
So I'll tell you the maybe not necessarily the biggest difference, but the thing that bothered me the most was that I didn't have my interns, and I lived and breathed those people, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They were on my phone every day, all day, in the middle of the
Yeah.
night, and all the time. And so when I went from that to this position, which is where I make sure that our classes are staffed the way they need to be, and making sure that course content is where it needs to be, making sure
Right.
our crediting needs are where they need to be, making sure that our sequencing of courses are working the way they're supposed to. So that job is a little more isolated from students. I
Right.
still see them, but
Right.
I don't have my 89 interns in
Yeah.
front of
Right.
me
Yeah.
calling me with, oh my gosh, Dr. Givan, I think I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
I don't have that, so
Right.
I didn't know what to do with myself.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was like, can somebody somebody call me with a fire to put out. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember having a conversation with the greatest dean ever on
Yeah.
earth, Dr. Celia Taylor. And
Yeah.
I was like, I just think my impact is gone. And she was
Right.
like, your impact is different.
Right.
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 And it's
Yeah.
larger because of what you now have to ensure
Yes.
is happening for your students. But I was like,
Right.
but you don't understand. I miss my babies. And she
Yeah.
was like, you need to understand
Yeah.
that if this doesn't go well, then
Yeah.
this falls apart, and then
Right.
and then. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I told Darren,
We
I was
do that.
like, because I teach on Wednesday nights at church,
Yeah.
and that I kind of get that teacher fix a little bit,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I get to see former students.
still got to have my teacher fix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with us having 22 districts, though, I mean, we get out and about and visiting those campuses, and man, it's if we're having a horrible day, honestly, you can just pick any pre-K room in America, and take a dip in there for about 10 minutes, and man, faith is restored.
It's like the preschool in our building.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
So one day I was teaching class, and there is a little girl. She's got long, curly, blonde hair, just the cutest thing ever. You know, the bow. She's the epitome of, and she is wailing, in the middle of my class. And so I went outside and I looked and I was like, "Are you okay?" Are you okay? And she looked at me and she stopped. And then she went back to wailing. I was like, "Okay, well, yeah, you're okay." So it's fine. But that's the fun.
Right.
That's the fun part.
Well, and that reminds me too. That committee we served on together was, with the interns, where they had, for whatever reason, they may want to. It was kind of like, do we go on? And everybody had their own situation. And I walked up one day, and there was a poor kid, suit and tie, and I was running a little bit late, and I was like, and I mean, he was like sweating, and I was like, "It's gonna be all right, man. What's up?" And he was just saying, "Well, I just hope I got to," and I was just like, "Just calm down." I said, "On the other side of that door, we're just people."
Right.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, yeah, I guess so." And I said, "You'll be all right." But yeah, sometimes they get wrapped up in it just like everybody else does.
We had fun on that committee, though.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
going to that meeting, and Darren would be
Yeah.
there. So between like Darren and maybe Pat Sims from Kodo,
Right.
and I was like, I can't sit next to either.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna get in trouble.
We're not supposed to have fun in these kind of meetings, but we did. It was fun.
Well, the
Good time.
majority of those people that came in there, I was like, "Man, that ain't nothing." I'm thinking,
You said that before.
exactly,
You were like,
yeah.
that's not a big deal.
Exactly. You ain't seen trouble. Yeah.
And I'd be like, no, they cannot. He was like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
Dr.
exactly.
Jan, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
exactly. Yeah, that is. Yeah, exactly. Been there, done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wrote the book.
Wrote the book.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's gonna have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
and you
oh,
got to. You got to laugh. If you don't laugh, you're gonna go crazy.
Yeah, we were just talking on the way over here. There's a lot of the presentations I do. I share a picture of a guy on the news when I was superintendent. They put a guy's picture up with my name underneath, and she's seen that picture like probably 30
I'm about
times.
to. Let me just pull it up.
Pull it up.
You gotta see it.
but she laughs every time she's seen it. I said, "Why is that still funny to you?" I mean, it is funny. I mean,
Is it you?
I
It's
put
not you.
No, it's not me. But I share that picture because it says Darren Beck.
Oh my
super-
gosh.
It says Darren Beck was superintendent underneath, but I show that
Is
and
that not
share that.
hilarious?
Oh my!
I said
I
it
wish
looks
the
just
people.
like him.
I wish
Yeah.
the people on the podcast could see this.
Well, I share that to tell people. I mean, take your job very serious, but don't take yourself too serious. I literally had people calling me from
Can you zoom in on this?
my fraternity people calling in thinking that maybe that I thought was dead, honestly, that had called. And I mean, I was just amazed at the number of people across the state that were calling and going, "Oh my gosh." So
I
but
can only
anyway,
imagine the conversation
Yeah.
I would have had if I had seen it.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, Darren, are you
yeah,
okay?
Yeah. But that's
you
what
need
I
me?
say. No matter how bad the day is, I mean, you can't take yourself too serious because that kind of stuff is going to happen.
Oh.
Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, or me. No,
hey.
It
We're
can
gonna
happen
let you
to
have
you.
it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. If you're in it long enough, it's going to happen.
gonna happen.
It's going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
but-
gosh.
Wow, that
So
picture is
funny.
something else. I'm gonna dream about that.
I laugh every time. I can't.
Yeah.
It never
But here's
gets
the deal.
old.
She got to that picture on her phone so fast.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you check that out? I think
Well,
she's
no,
got it
hey.
saved
Well,
in
they
her
just
favorite.
we
Well-
just had a principal that texted us to
No, that would've-
again
that
today
would've been-
and reminded
Gotcha.
us. Said,
That would have been Bruce Orr.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's Bruce.
Bruce,
You know
yeah.
Bruce, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so
That's hilarious.
that's how I got to it
Yeah.
quickly because and that's why I was laughing.
That's something Bruce would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what's your end game? What's your goal? I mean, I know you've had them along the way. Do you have one?
I don't know. Someone asks that. I get that question all the time. Like, what else do you want to do? I was talking to Dr. Taylor one day, and I was like, maybe one day I want to be like a provost. I'm not necessarily sure if I wanted to be a president. It's too political, right? And it's straight business. But when it comes down to education and instructional strategies and teaching and what's best for students, I think that would be a goal for me.
Right.
That kind of thing. I still, in some point, like in my mind, I still hold on to being a school principal, but I have changed so much from, I got my master's. I was like 24, 25 when I finished my master's in administration. So, 24-year-old principal, not so much.
Yeah.
That's just maybe not.
Right.
Yeah.
But from that time until now, I'm just a totally different person, I think.
Right.
So anything
Not on the table then.
just staying around here in higher ed is really I never wanted to be in higher ed. I mean, when Dr. Ken Taylor, when I finished my doctorate, I had, we get a robe from Euler, and it's like a temporary robe, right? And he said, you need to go ahead and buy a real robe. And I was like, I am not, because I'm not ever going to wear this again, right? And then the next year I came to Henderson, and then we wear it twice, 3 times a year. I was like, well, dang, I probably should. He was right. Don't tell him I said that.
Right.
If you're listening, right? But it was like, okay, you're probably right.
Right.
It's changed a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I guess that's kind of what life's taught me too. I mean, you keep your head down, you work hard, good Lord's going to open those doors for you, because it's so true. I mean, you make a plan, God's going to laugh at it, and he's, let you have fun every once in a while and say, okay, now this is what, this is what needs to happen.
Absolutely.
And so, I've been very blessed. I'm kind of like that. I love what I'm doing. I'm going to do it until, he says otherwise.
Right,
So,
right.
And very blessed with the people that I get to work with day in and day out. And we talk about this so much, but it's, what an incredible career it's been just with the relationships that we've been able to make, and
For sure.
and the folks that we get to enjoy, going out and seeing on a daily basis. And so it's just an incredible profession. It's been tough.
Oh, yeah.
The last 3 years, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, the thing that's amazed me is the resilience and the heart of these teachers, where they just stepped up and, in the face of all this COVID mess, and just really been there for the kids.
Right.
And to me, that's been great to see.
Yeah, I agree.
I think so. I was thinking about that. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's an educator in Conway, and she's that teacher. And you have different kinds of teachers, but she's the one that gets to school like at 5:36 in the morning, and she gets her coffee and she lays all her stuff out, and she's very patient and kind. And I was the bus driver, so I came in on a whim, and everybody get off the bus and let's go, kind of thing. But she's talked about how difficult it has been, with all the changes that have happened. So education just doesn't look the same.
Nope.
The classrooms don't look the same. The students don't look the same. The parents, for real, don't look the same. And she was talking about how so many people are looking at leaving. They want to leave the profession, but they're not really wanting to leave the classroom and the students. They're wanting to leave the administrative stuff that has to happen, and the teach it this way and by Zoom and over here. And so it's, just really trying to solidify. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that administrators have to do now, is figure out how can we best support our teachers in this new structure to make it most beneficial for the students without, killing our teachers at the same time. So it's a big deal.
Right. Well, you hit on something right there. So with that being said, and that is a real conversation going on right now. But for, let's just say, potential teachers of the future, what do we tell this group coming up, this next generation of teachers? How do we convince them, how impactful that this career is?
Right. I think for me, my goal has always been with interns, with prospective students. I teach Introduction to Ed. So do you really want to be a teacher class, right? From the very beginning, my whole theme is, you have to use your heart. If your heart is not in education, then it's not for you. And it's okay.
Right.
You're not a bad person. I know your
Right.
mama, your granny, your uncle, your papa, and everybody else, it was in education in your family, but But if it's not for you, then that's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But as long as you have the heart for students and as long as you have the heart for education, then no matter what's thrown at you,
Right.
you'll keep the focus on I'm doing what's best for my
Yeah.
students.
Come back to
Right.
that why.
You'll come back
that
to
heart
your
for it.
why. You know, you'll always have to have your
Yep.
why.
Yep.
And I think that's what's happening now, you know, when we look at what's going on with COVID. But and students are coming in, they're hearing from current teachers that are saying, don't do it, I want out. Well, but why did you get in? Oh, because I love the kids. Do you not love them anymore? I still do. Okay, well then why are we leaving?
Yeah.
Oh, and now we can clarify, I'm leaving
Right.
for X, Y, and Z. And it hasn't really,
Right.
it usually has nothing to do with the kids. But
Okay.
you listen, I tell my students all the time, if you say the wrong thing on the wrong day to the wrong student,
Right.
you could ruin a life.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how
Yeah.
impactful this
Right.
profession
Right.
is. And so
Right.
you have to do it with your heart every day. If
Right.
you do it with your brain, sometimes my brain is not here.
Yes.
You have to do it with your
Yes.
heart every
Yep.
single
Right.
day.
Yep.
That's what you gotta
But if you say the right thing to the right kid, you could save a life
Right.
do. You
Yeah.
could save a life
That's right.
at any
Right.
time.
at any time.
At
That's
any
right.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's but the the other thing about COVID that we get to see, I would say, are at least the 22 districts we serve, we get
Right.
to see it up close and personal. Less competition. Working together. In the past, and it's been friendly competition, but it's been more of the districts coming together, picking up the phone. Hey, what's working? I've got this problem.
Gotcha.
And to me, that's been kind of pretty cool to see. I
Yeah,
think,
it
don't
is.
you think?
It is. It's very encouraging.
And
Yeah.
a lot of times it's, I mean, like you're saying, it's been moving at a much quicker pace. And rather than trying to figure stuff out on their own,
Yeah.
they'll pick up that phone and say, "Hey, we've had to go to virtual, whatever," and they'll call it.
Pivot.
How are you getting it done?
Right,
So-
right.
And so that part has been really, really kind of neat to watch.
It's just, even today, I had a member of curriculum cabinet reach out and say, hey, could you ask curriculum cabinet, yada, yada, yada. So I just sent an email to the group and
Yeah.
they just respond back. They're just, everybody, they're all so helpful. It really is great.
I think it would benefit administrators in schools and school districts if they would really, COVID has allowed those most creative teachers to become more creative.
Oh yeah,
You know, and if we would kind of step back a little bit and say, oh, so this is what you're thinking and we can really do this. I mean, you charge a teacher with them, they're going to come on, they're going to make
Oh,
it
yeah.
happen,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
allow those teachers that have the ability to create and innovate, in order to reach all the kids in all the different homes with all the different technologies and. If you really allow them to do that, they'll make it work for
Right.
you. You don't have to work
Oh,
hard as administrator. They'll do it if you let them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you let them.
Yeah, and I think too, a lot of the buzzwords that have been kicked around lately, like the PLCs and stuff, those things have really have grown out of this, and some of them are doing it and not even knowing it.
Right,
So,
right, yeah.
But innovation is certainly another thing that's really kind of osmosed, if you will, out of COVID. We're looking at some of the districts looking at 4-day school weeks, year-round school. So lots of innovative thoughts being kicked around. And, I think it's incredible. I've always been thinking, hey, school's not, or education's not necessarily cookie cutter for each individual
That's exactly right.
Right.
district.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I
what
agree.
works for one district's not going to work completely the same for the other one down
Exactly.
the street.
Right.
Yeah. We do
Well,
it a lot.
I tell you what, we always like to get to the end and kind of, I don't know. we
Don't let
throw-
her off the
Well, we
hook.
throw some things out there.
Don't let her off the hook.
I'm so
You know?
scared.
Well, no, I try to shift gears at the end.
Let's go.
And
Yeah.
change it up. But,
Okay.
but I'm really interested in this question from you because, the one question that I like to ask, and it's getting kind of old, but from you, I think it's going to be a good one. So, what's on your playlist? If we were to go out there and jump in your car,
Yeah.
so what's on your playlist?
Okay,
running?
so I have a couple of playlists. It just it's I am a music person. I sing in the choir and on the praise team. I was in the band. I played the piano. So I'm a music
awesome.
person. And so I kind of like a little bit of everything. But right now, gospel wise, I'm really listening to Trey McLaughlin because his music is all worship and
Right.
Really giving credit to God for who He is and what He and what He does and things of that sort. So especially with us being where we are over at Henderson State right now.
Right.
It's just kind of keeping me centered, right?
Right.
So
That's awesome.
that's a good part. Now, I like, so Blake Shelton has a song out called Minimum Wage.
Yeah.
Have you heard the Minimum
Yeah.
Wage
Oh, yeah.
song? And it's like,
Yep.
you can make this dollar bill taste like, make a Cadillac shine. I'm just
Yeah.
like, come on, Blake, that's just a song right there. So
Right.
between that and then Hamilton is always on my playlist.
It is so funny that
It's
you
my
said
thing.
that because
Yeah.
Jana Catlett, we were in a meeting
Right.
and she was talking about the Hamilton, and I'm like, I haven't really not heard a lot of it, and she's like, you have got to listen to this.
See my face? Look! Oh my gosh!
That's-
Yes.
Oh my gosh! So
Hamilton
Right.
is it, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, the thing about the musical Hamilton is that the entire show is music. There are not sentences spoken in the show at all that are not a part of a song.
Right.
So it has like 42
awesome.
songs in it, and I know every word to every single one. And when I'm in the shower, I belt it out, and I sound just like those people
Yeah.
in the shower.
Yeah.
As soon as it's weird. As soon as you step out of the shower, you don't
Yeah.
sound the same.
Right.
Does that happen with anybody else?
Yeah.
Just me?
Right.
So Hamilton is always on my playlist, and then I like all kinds of music, right? But that's kind of where I am right now.
Okay. Well, I've been making a big push for my man. Everybody thinks I'm endorsing this guy. Well, I guess I
You
am.
are.
I think you really
I
are.
don't even know what
mean,
you're about
like,
to say, but you
yeah,
are.
he totally is.
Teddy
He totally
Swims.
is.
Have you heard him?
I have not.
And he's kind of a bluesy dude, and I'll play when we get done here. But man, he's good. But I'm like you, Veronica, and I. We switch music off and on. She's turned me on to the black gospel scene probably for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And I'll go out and do different things, and man, I'm more apt to turn on Hezekiah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And Kurt Franklin.
Yeah, all day.
All day, and people look at me and go, "What?"
Yeah.
And
Or Miley Cyrus. too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hi, Molly. Yeah.
And so, and it's so funny. So, we'll talk a little country about, and so last week she comes in, she goes, "Hey, have you heard? What do you think about that guy, Derek's Bentley?" I said, she's talking about Dirks Bentley.
Okay.
That's what I said.
We cracked up.
Yeah, we cracked up. And I said, but I will give you an A for effort on that. But yeah. So, but yeah.
I had to sing my way. Have I told you the story where I had to sing my way out of a ticket?
No.
No.
Craziest thing ever. Our praise team, this was back when I was living in Conway, my praise team had to go sing in Camden. And I was driving. I had a truck at the time, an SUV, and so they're all in the truck with me. And I have a lead foot, so I was floating,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like I was getting it.
Right.
And when you're headed down to Camden through the woods, they kind of hang out in the woods.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And so he pulls out and he pulls me over and he was like, "Ma'am, you were spinning." I was like, "Yes, officer, I'm so sorry." Yes,
Yeah.
I was. And he says, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" I said, "Oh, it's the praise team. We're headed to Camden to sing at an event for some blah, 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 blah." And he was like, "Oh, well, sing something." He said, "Do you know a little Hezekiah Walker?" And I was like, "We do, And so he wanted us to sing Gratefulness. And so my friend JJ started singing, and he was like, no, not her, you. And I was like, okay. And so then I start seeing, and he has his ticket book in his hand with his pen, and he's like swaying. And then the praise team comes in, and like we're like having church on the side of the road. He said, "I'm gonna let you go this time, but you gonna have to slow down." I was like, "Amen, Jesus."
That's
That
right.
is awesome.
Yeah.
That is the best.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah. Well,
That's awesome.
Right.
I love it. I love it.
our administrative assistant, Nisi over there, she got married, and we walked in, and it was Souls Anchored. By
I love that.
Sunday service, and I looked at V. I said, "Girl, you've been holding out on me."
Yeah.
And so they played that one, and then I was driving. What's that other one?
I added that when we heard it. I was like, I love that.
love that,
'Cause
yeah.
I love all types of
Is
music.
it called
too.
Sunshine or whatever? The other one they do, and so it was another one on there they'd been holding out on us, and so
From
anyway.
Sunday service?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
rain? It wasn't rain.
No, it's rain,
It's
and then they
rain,
have a
and
sunshine.
then they do have a sunshine,
Yeah.
yes.
So anyway, I told them, I said, y'all gotta quit holding out on us.
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah, I play music in the office all the time.
Oh,
They
yeah.
people know.
Yeah.
That's
He,
it's
yeah.
my
Yeah.
thing.
He does too.
Well, once in a while, when things will get packed in here, I'll hit the button on the all call, and And it infuriates some of these nerds around here. Like,
And then-
what are you interrupting PD for? I said, because if you walked around, people need a little breath.
Everybody needs to breathe. A little
That's right.
stay, a little
That's
stuffy
right.
in here. Yeah, I'm that person. I am that person.
Yeah.
So I think
Exactly.
if I were a principal, you know,
Yeah.
I think that'd be one of the things I would do. They'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, here she goes.
Hey, listen, Donald Westerman, he hired me as assistant principal, and we
He's
get
funny.
stressed, and we would just we'd come in, turn on, a lot of times we'd flip on Country Grammar and Nelly. We'd start, Kathy Johnson would crack it because we'd be singing. It wouldn't matter. We'd throw on anything. And just to break that
Anything,
stress.
anything.
Yeah.
And then you just, you're singing, you feel good.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and then you're like, okay,
I'll tell
5
you
minutes.
What we did the other day, not the other day, but it like in this school year, Dolly Parton 9 to 5. And listen, we were going through all the words, and you could not tell us that Dolly was not sitting right next
Yeah.
to us.
Yep.
Right.
Or we were having, it was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
We have dance parties
Yeah.
all the time.
Well,
It's fun.
I hate
makes
to
it
even
great.
mention this, but when I was in the middle school at Lakeside, told the kids, said, hey, if you'll rate math, we were struggling to math. If you'll raise it 5 points, I'm going to don a cheerleading suit and we're going to party.
Oh.
Never thinking it would happen.
Oh.
And it happened.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
That's all
and-
you
Do you
gotta
have
do.
a picture?
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, it's in the yearbook somewhere. And then so fast forward about 4 years, we get Channel 7 or 4, somebody was live at Lakeside High School.
Yeah.
And then so Bruce, again, he gets the band.
Common denominator around.
Don't
Oh, yeah.
blame Bruce.
Yeah. He gets the band to start chanting, my name to dance and all that. And I'm like, no. And so finally they wouldn't let it go. And then so anyway, it was like, what the heck? Well, we got to lose at this point.
Might as well.
Yeah. But
That's
you
so
got to have fun.
they saw you as, you were like the fun guy.
Yeah.
That's not
Well,
me.
got to do what
Yeah.
you got to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we taken pies in the face and kissed pigs?
yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
danced?
Someone asked me the other day if they could do, they were trying to raise some money for one of the sororities or fraternities or
Right.
something. They wanted to do it. They wanted to pie me, and I was like, let me tell you something. I just don't know how I feel about the pie in the face. What else can we do?
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, anything for the kids.
Anything.
Yeah.
They'll do just about anything to see a teacher or principal,
Right.
embarrass themselves.
Were you ever taped to the wall? Did you get
No,
taped
I
to
didn't
the
get
I
wall?
did
Yeah.
not get taped
No.
to
You
the
get taped to
wall.
the wall?
I did not get
That's
taped.
fun. The tape to
Yeah.
the wall.
Wow.
I have, smashed raw eggs on my head and, you name it. I mean, like pretty much, but I haven't gotten taped to the
The
wall.
tape to the wall. I think that's just the most interesting thing.
Yeah, I do
ever.
too.
I don't know why that makes the kids
Yeah.
so excited.
Oh, yeah. They
because
love
you're
that.
just
Yeah.
hanging there on
They
the
do.
wall.
Yeah. Let you just hang in there.
It's like, okay,
Right.
great.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming in.
Yes.
And again, good luck to you.
Thank
and,
you.
And
Yes.
we're here for you.
Yeah, we love
Anything.
our partnership.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Oh,
for
yeah.
everything that
Yeah.
y'all do.
We
So
appreciate-
glad you got to come.
Yeah, we appreciate the work you guys do. I mean, getting those kids going, getting them out the door.
Team effort.
And man, I tell you, to me it's exciting when we get a chance to see that next generation of teachers, because we took a little dip there for a while of folks not wanting to do that or be in that profession. But I that's one I don't look at a lot of research, but that's one I kind of keep my eye on.
Right.
And thankfully, I mean, the trend is we're getting some folks back,
Yeah.
getting into the profession. But you hit the nail on the head. Sometimes we in the profession are our worst enemy.
Yeah.
But I mean, if any future teachers out there, I'm going to tell you, it's one of the best professions
Absolutely.
out there, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Well, again, thanks for coming in.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it
Yes,
very
Thank
much.
you. I enjoyed it.
Yay.
Yeah.
Good
All right.
times.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Spilling the Tea in Studio D.